What the Devil, episode 83. Today, the international break is almost over, guys. It is almost over. We have not long left until United are back in action. I feel like I know it's not been the easiest season so far. I am muted. Oh dear. Right. Okay. Let's start again. I was muted. Welcome back, everybody, to What the Devil. Welcome back to episode 83 on United View. I was muted. This is why it's as I was trying to say before. It's been a long international break. I've clearly forgotten what my job is meant to be, which is speaking with a microphone. But we're close. We're almost at the end of this international break. This one has felt like just a drag because sometimes, United, I feel like we have a trend of we lose the last game for the international break, and so in the international break, everyone can forget about United for 2 weeks, go on a bit of a mini holiday, or as Gary Neville calls it, a mini retirement, and then come back. But we won against Sunderland, and it was our best performance of the season. And then we got to sit there for 2 weeks knowing that Liverpool is around the corner. But now Liverpool really is around the corner. And joining me today, for the first time on What the Devil, is Steph. Welcome to the studio, Steph.
Hi.
Lovely to have you. But there's been, in the international break, there's been quite a lot of just conversation, as there has been over the last 18 months, about United's squad, and mainly their midfield, because it was an area that we didn't invest in the summer. And there's been, I know that Schmeichel, Gary Neville and Roy Keane and co have been speaking about the last few weeks being like, as much as their attacking signings were good, in Cunha and Bumo and Šeško, they've gone, that's a £200 million front line, and then you've not signed a midfielder. And we went to go and try and sign Baleba right at the end of the summer just to see if we could bring that forward. It didn't work, didn't happen. But there's been a lot of conversation in the last week or so specifically about who United want to sign in midfield in either January or next summer, because it's needed. Like, we've got four midfielders, one of which you'd say maybe isn't one of, like Bruno Fernandes, he's playing in there at the moment, but you could argue that that's not where he should be playing. Obviously, that's a whole other topic. But the reports of late have basically said that although kind of Baleba is the one that Amorim loves, United, in the summer, obviously they were so like obsessed with him and they wanted him whatever possible cost it could have been, but it was obviously too far out of our reach. But now, apparently, both Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton are very much creeping into this conversation. And the fees surrounding Anderson and Wharton have been seemingly sat at more around the 70 million mark, whereas Baleba was obviously like 120 in the summer, 100 million next summer. So the question I just kind of want to pose to you when we talk about is, although Baleba might be seen by United as like the best option out of the three to play the style of Ruben Amorim, is he worth paying the £100 million for if you've got these other two who are potentially 25, 30 million pounds less and could be just as good?
I don't think so, but the first thing I'd like to do is start off with basically pointing out the fact that I'm just going to humour this whole topic of conversation because I think, just historically speaking, United never really tend to sign like anybody in the January transfer window. I say anybody, that's a very sweeping generalisation, but I have very little hope for us signing any midfielder in January, even though, it's doing the news rounds now, or we might sign this, we might sign Anderson, we might sign Wharton, I'm going to just for the purposes of this show, I'm humouring the possibility. Do I think that, in response to your question specifically, do I think that it's worthwhile us chasing Wharton or Anderson over Baleba, even though it's well noted that Amorim's preference would probably be Baleba? I do think it's worthwhile considering the financial situation that we are in, and we could possibly be in a worse financial situation by January or next summer.
Yeah, one of the Baleba links, I still don't know to this day if it's Baleba or Baleba, but I'm just going to go with Baleba because of the whole hashtag I'm a Believer thing. So I'm assuming it's Baleba. But when the first links came around to him, I got to admit I didn't really know too much about him. And so when it was obviously Brighton always have these £100 million midfielders, right? They've always got these they generate the next talent, and then the joke is always try and sign Baleba, see who they scout, and then go and get that person instead. That's always the joke around Brighton.
I always look at Brighton as the made in China of like football. know
I
that
can
sounds-
see that.
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like, it's like,
actually, to be fair, I
made
kind
in
of,
China.
I kind of
Like-
get what you mean. Yeah, there's always someone on the production
Yeah.
line as well, like
Yeah.
to come in next. But
Yeah.
I got to admit, I knew who Adam Wharton was, and I knew who Elliot Anderson was, and I didn't really know as much about Baleba. So when it came out, so I had like friends. Obviously, KG was when he came on in the summer, and he came back and he was like, lads, Baleba's happening. Part of me was like, interesting, but also, who is he? Like I knew who Carlos Baleba was as a Premier League footballer, but I wasn't necessarily aware of the £100 million price tag and the fact that he's like one of these £100 million players. I did research into him, and I was like, okay, damn, this guy's really good. But I've always really I thought ever since Wharton stepped up from the Championship to the Premier League, which is such a Crystal Palace route at the moment. Like they got Elise that route, they got Eze that route, they got now Wharton that route. They're buying these players from the Championship and bringing them a level up and then letting them flourish. Yeah, I think Wharton probably is my number one. Okay. I think he's awesome, and Elliot Anderson is a player that since he went from Newcastle to Forest for £35 million, and even at that time I was saying that's a steal. You wait a couple years, that's going to double, that's going to triple, and almost immediately it has. Elliot Anderson is now one of the best young players in the league. He's now he's playing for England in the kind of the progression path that Mainoo's had. Yeah. Maybe not as dramatic as Mainoo's, because Mainoo's was pretty one of one.
The rise to
Mainoo's was one of one, but both of these young English midfielders, I just think are fantastic. And personally, I would rather see we sign one of those two over Baleba. But that's not to say that I wouldn't also love for us to sign Baleba, because I'm so desperate for a midfielder. Yeah,
I think we all are. I think we're all desperate for a midfielder after the start of the season, that we've had. I think for a number of reasons. I get your point. Well, we can discuss it a bit more in a minute. But your reasons for why, your reasons for why you prefer Wharton over Anderson, because I actually prefer Anderson. I think he would be a great fit, and I actually think just Manchester United being Manchester United, they're always going to search for the cheapest option or the cheaper option, and they're both cheaper than Baleba. And two, not only that, they're bright young English talents who've recently been highlighted in the English national team by Thomas Tuchel. So I think in that respect, not only in that respect, I think that's another reason why I would say United would probably be, their ears would perk up and pricking up interest about those two. I just don't. For me personally, I prefer Anderson. I don't know what the chat thinks or what the rest of the fan base thinks, or the rest of the viewers. But Anderson just seems like, if you look at the stats, I feel like Anderson's more of an all-action, an all-round player. Like his long-range passing is a lot better, and he can win the ball back. His defensive duels, and winning the ball back and playing the ball forward quickly. I think that's the kind of player we need. But I'm not the manager, so if we're looking at the next best thing to what Amarin wants, aside from Baleba, I think it would be the closer option would be Anderson over Wharton.
To be fair, I hear it. It's one of those things we're arguing. We're talking about two people who would both level up the team in a very similar way, because the differences between them are quite minute. Yeah. It's not like we're talking about someone who clears any of the other ones. All three of these players. Yes. I know Baleba's not had the world's best season so far, and Hertzler, the Brighton manager, has said a couple of times, he's been saying that he reckons there has been a little bit of because as far as reports go, Baleba's head was completely turned to us in the summer. Yeah. He was like, I want this move. I want to go to United. That's what I want. That's what I need. And it didn't happen because Brighton are. Well, they're Brighton. They're very hard to deal with. You've seen that with Arsenal trying to sign Caicedo, and then him end up going to Chelsea with a bidding war between Liverpool, and we've seen it with João Pedro, for example, getting big fees for him and big fees for Alexis McAllister and all these other players that have passed through the Brighton system in the last few years. But the reason I like Wharton over Anderson, and it's very small. I love them both. I think that it's like kind of saying, why I like Mbeumo versus Ahmad. At the end of the day, you love them both anyway, and so comparing them too much is it's a minute point. But it's just that it's the composure that I see in Wharton coming, and it's coming from that step of going from Championship to Premier League mid-season. Literally, he made that step in January. He was at Blackburn Rovers, and in January made the step to Crystal Palace, and immediately, I've got some friends who are Crystal Palace fans, and their jaws were on the floor. Yeah. They were like, who is this kid that we've signed? from Blackburn, and I was like, it feels like I'm yet to see him phased once. I've never seen him phase any, and that's the kind of thing that you need for United.
Until you get to United.
You reckon?
And here cometh the issue. I feel like you can go on and on, not you specifically, but we can as a fan base. We can go on and on about composure and work rate and experience and gaining, football IQ and confidence on the pitch and all of that. It all goes out the window when you come and play for United. So going back to the conversation or the what we were just talking about, who would suit Amorim's system best? It's one thing saying, I think Baleba would suit Amorim's system best, or then Anderson, then, but you just don't know with United. The situation at United, it's just a rot. It's an absolute rot, and I just think that players who have progressed, players such as Wharton, like you said, who've moved up from the Championship, who've progressed, and they seem to be doing really well. It could all come to a standstill if they came to United. And I don't think that has anything to do, really, personally, with the mentality of the player, as some people like to think. Because some people are looking at Baleba now like, I'm glad that we didn't get Baleba because his mentality, he hasn't been playing well this season. He didn't get the move that he wanted to. And his mentality's slipped. And I just think it just doesn't matter. It only matters what you do when you turn up in a Manchester United shirt, and nobody bloody knows what's going to happen.
Is that the case though for Premier League players? We talk about this players doing well, hit United, and then immediately flatlining.
Yeah.
But whenever we sign Premier League players, it seems different. I think it's not necessarily a United. Obviously, it is a United thing, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen it. Yeah. But I feel like it happens a lot less so when we sign Premier League players. Obviously, I'm thinking about Mbumo at the moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guys, United have been inconsistent, and he's had good and bad moments so far. But I think for the most part, he's been our best player this season so far. Yeah. He's slotted in, and it's just been pretty seamless. And I know Cunha's been a bit more of a up and down, but then he's had a hamstring injury, and he's playing second fiddle to Mason Mount at the minute. Because obviously, of course, Mason Mount played well against Sunderland. We'll get on to Liverpool game, but that's I think that Mason Mount will start against Liverpool. So it's a different situation for Cunha. But I do think the way to get over that for United, the way to be able to guarantee better quality is to just shop within the Premier League. And obviously, all three of these players are Premier League players.
Nothing good ever came from shopping in the same place. I don't put it this way. When I go food shopping, I don't just go to Marks and Spencer's. I know that sounds really snobby. I
was about to say, of all the places you could have picked, man, you picked the most expensive shop I know.
But you know why? It's because I need to go and buy grapes later. So that's why I made a mental note to buy grapes from Marks and Spencer's. But I don't go shopping at one place. I'll go to Lidl. I'll shop around. I'll go to Aldi. I'll go to various places. I don't think that it would benefit us from just shopping in the same league at all. But going back to your point about, if you look at Mbumo and Cunha, the most recent examples of moving to United from other clubs in the Premier League. And yes, sure, it's early days yet. We're in Game 7, Game 8. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to judge their progression, or if they've had a major dip in form, or if they've risen. But if you look at other players in our current system who've been here for a season or two, so let's look at the Harry Maguires, the Mason Mounts. The Wan-Bissaka, obviously Wan-Bissaka's not here anymore, but if you look at the kind of players that we've shopped in the Premier League for and who have come to United, they haven't lived up to scratch. Look at Harry, we paid 80 million. I don't want to go over all ground, but what I'm saying to you is we're look at this amazing signing. We've been there with Harry Maguire. We've been there with Mason Mount. Mason Mount was a beast at Chelsea, and look at him now. He's barely fit. I mean, I know that this season he's done well for himself, but even Luke, if you want to go back 10 years, Luke Shaw, when we took him from Southampton, it's just they don't.
Shaw was great until his leg got snapped in half, though.
Yeah, true. That'd be true.
Yeah, but then again, his leg was snapped in half about 2 months into his tenure at United, which was really unfortunate. But those 2 months were a fantastic 2 months.
But I mean, I don't know when it comes to I'm thinking about the current squad. So if you look at players I don't even want to use Bruno as an example because obviously Bruno is such a hot potato at the moment, a hot topic. But players that we've brought in from other leagues, your De Ligts, your Mazraouis, I feel like they've been pretty solid. Maybe not outstandingly sensational, but I don't think their form's dipped at all. I mean, Mazraoui, yeah, he's had injuries. He's had a few injuries towards the end of last season and pre-season. But in comparison to the Harry Maguires and the Mason Mounts and the players that we bought from other teams in the Premier League, I think we should be shopping everywhere. I don't think that we should be closing our net. I think we should be casting it wide.
But when you talk about our midfield, like our midfield is like, out of all the positions we've got at the moment, you look at the midfield and go, that's where there's problems.
Yeah.
That's where, we'll go into Casemiro and Ugarte and go in a minute.
Yeah.
But you go like, that's, if there's any place that you're crying out for, that's where we're hungry for someone. Would you not want someone who's going to come in and understand the assignment from day one? Like, you'd want someone who can come in and go, okay, I know how to play in the midfield too. I know how to play with a back three behind me, with a front three in front of me, and then a wing back on my right-hand side and my left-hand side. And to me, out of those three, that's Adam Wharton. Because he obviously, the Glasner's system is that, like, everyone compares Amorim and Glasner's system. Same formation, very different set of instructions. That is, I feel like that is, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like how to play with 3 centre-backs versus 4 centre-backs and knowing where a wing-back is going to be versus where a full-back is going to be. I feel like out of these 3 players, it's going to be Adam Wharton who's going to walk in day one and go, I know my assignment, I know what I need to do here, and I would then trust him the most to then go and do it from the get-go. Because we can't necessarily wait 8-9 months for a player to settle in midfield. We need them to do it now.
And all of your points are valid. I actually completely agree with you. But just highlighting the point that you made, you said, he's used to playing in a similar system and he'll know where his fullback is or his wingback is. Do you really trust, do you think he's going to, where's Dalot? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if Dalot was to play, or Mazraoui, or Dorgan, our players, I feel like they just don't even, the players that we currently have, some of them don't even understand Amorim's system. So you're bringing more players in, and what you're expecting them to fit in to a system where we have players who currently don't understand the system. This is what I'm saying about, it doesn't matter how good you are before you get to United. If it's rotten on the inside, it's just, you're going to rot. And I know they know that I'm pessimistic anyway. They always get on my case about that. I am hopeful for change. I say all of this, and that's not to say that I wouldn't love any of these 3 players, but I do think if we're going to change the midfield or get new players, we have to change the entire midfield. We have to do what, I sound fanciful saying this, but we have to do what a Jurgen Klopp did, and just remember that season, the summer transfer window, when he literally just changed his entire midfield. That's what we need to do. I'm not saying change our entire midfield and get these 3 players. That will never happen. We'll be lucky if we get one. But in order to give the midfielders we buy the best hope of succeeding, we can't just put one in a rotten basket. And by a rotten basket, I'm talking about Bruno and Casemiro. It's not going to work.
So obviously you mentioned Casemiro, and that's a very good segue into the next thing I want to talk about, because in midfield you can argue for all 4 of those, Bruno, Casemiro, Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo. There's an argument that for any of those 4 to be leaving next summer, which is horrendous to say. Like Bruno Fernandes, you can go, Saudi's calling,
please,
United
leave.
Can bag 60 to 80 million quid, etc. Use that to help, fund the rebuild. Casemiro out of contract. Manu Ugarte, I think most people are going to look at that and go, well, he is going. Like obviously, there's been reports that I know Flex has talked about on United View's social channels that Laurie Whitwell claimed that Ruben Amorim told Ugarte that he's no longer the player that he used to be at Sporting. Whitwell then retracted that and said that's inaccurate. But I think most people look at that and go, but Amorim, if Amorim did say that, he's right. It
suits everybody's agenda. So if you're of the persuasion that you think Emmanuel Ugarte is shit, then obviously you're going to listen to that. Well, Ruben Amorim's right. Even if he didn't say that, he's right in thinking that anyway. But I would look at it as take out all the he said, she said, what ifs, maybes. If you look at Ugarte was at Sporting, and it didn't turn out, it didn't end very well for him there. So what?
Amorim sold him from Sporting to PSG.
Exactly.
And PSG got rid of him after a year.
And now he's back.
Yeah,
it's almost like a bad dream, like Ruben Amorim.
Recurring nightmare.
So I always kind of look back to history, really, to tell us what's more than likely to happen. And I think that, as soon as Amorim came in, I thought it game, set and match.
For Man
Chicken
United.
mayo wrap.
Yeah, but, and then also there's the Kobbie Mainoo thing as well. Of there is a chance he can leave next summer, especially if Mainoo doesn't want to leave, but he wants to go on loan in January, and I completely understand it.
Yeah.
But there is obviously the chance that Mainoo can look at this and go, no, I want to go. And if Mainoo was to say I want to go, I think Amorim would say yes, which I hate. I hate the fact that I'm saying that, but that probably could happen. That is definitely a scenario to happen. But in light of that and the idea that up to all 4 midfielders can go, and also thinking that, as you said, it's going to be impossible to sign like 3 in one summer, is there a world in which United could end up keeping Casemiro? Because the reports from ESPN the other day said that United haven't ruled out giving him a new contract as long as his wage drops, because we can't keep him with £350,000 a week. Yeah. But is there... Obviously, Casemiro isn't. There's plenty of United fans who kind of out there who say, he's falling behind. He's not getting any better. His legs are going, but he is currently one of our most solid starters purely because of a lack of other options. What is the contract price or like the contract, the fee, the weekly wage, etc., where you would be all right with seeing Casemiro stay on if it just meant that we don't need to sign 3 mids in one summer and he can just kind of be a backup or a voice in the dressing room?
I don't like shopping in the reduced to clear aisle, if that makes sense. And I know that sounds rude, but okay, let's backtrack. What I'm saying to you is, if I am of the opinion that United, and I'm talking about like the board above Amorim, forget Amorim for a minute, we're talking about Ineos, Director of Football, all of them not. I think they are of the opinion that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. So in the sense that they know the financial predicament that we're going to be in next summer. They know, I think realistically, deep down, they know that we're not going to make Champions League. Oh God, I sound so doom and gloom. They know that Manchester United is not currently an attractive club to come to. And they know that if they do sign midfielders, they're going to be coming in on lower wages that we have seen in the past. It's going to be hard for them to recruit the kind of midfielder that we want. So, from their point of view, they might be thinking, better safe than sorry, keep Casemiro. Do I want that? No. If I had my way, I would, like I said, I would just completely get rid of all of the midfield apart from Mainoo.
Kobbie.
Yeah, apart from Mainoo. But because of the position that we may well find ourselves in next summer, do I think we should keep Casemiro? Do you know what I think we should do, in my opinion? I think we should keep him till the end of the summer, keep him in our back pocket until the end of the summer transfer window, just in case we don't sign as many midfielders as we like to. And at the very end of summer, let him go. The Saudi window closes after, I know I'm thinking way ahead, but the Saudi window closes after the...
2 weeks afterwards,
2 weeks after the summer transfer window. So in my mind, if I was the director of football or on the board, I would be keeping Casemiro in my back pocket to the end of the summer transfer window. And if we do manage to get the profile of midfielder or midfielders, plural, that we want, then I would let him go to Saudi, which is probably where he'll go anyway, because let's be honest, the wages are astronomical here at United, and I do not think that he would be happy to go down to 100 grand a week, which is what I would cap it at. 120 grand a week is what I would cap it.
Yeah, this is in terms of, to answer my own question that I just asked you, mine would be around like 100k plus like appearance bonuses kind of thing. Yeah. Like, so there's conversations saying that Harry Maguire might be signing a new deal as well, but that his wages are going to stay the same, but the structure of his wages are going to change. So it could be like Maguire,
he's on header.
Yeah, if you score a header, it's 10 grand, and then if it's in the 90th minute, it's then 15 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get him up front on the pitch.
If it's against Liverpool, an extra 50 grand.
If it's anyone over the top 5, then you get an extra another 20 grand after that. No, but the way I see it is like, so Maguire, I'm assuming his new contract, if that goes through, will be the maximum he can earn is still the same as what he's currently on, but it's going to be like 60 grand a week plus appearance bonuses and things. Like that's where I see it going for Harry Maguire. And with Casemiro, I wouldn't want that. I'm not going to say, you can get 120k if you appear, because you could come off the bench for 10 minutes. But it's more like, get it down to somewhere like 100 and then give him some incentives.
I would rather keep Casemiro than Maguire. I know that's not a comparison that you've actually ask.
I agree with you.
I'd rather keep Casemiro than Maguire, and I mean that because the reason why I'm saying that is, you want to talk about leadership roles, and we don't have many leaders at United at all. I wouldn't even consider Casemiro as a leader, but he's not in the leadership group. He's not in the leadership team, but he's a very decorated sportsman, a very decorated footballer. So, and I'm not talking necessarily at United. I'm talking about the clubs, that he's been to and what he's achieved before. He knows what it's like to win. Whether or not he's still capable of doing so now, he's still got it up here. Harry Maguire, what's he won? I mean, I'm not even being rude. I'm not even being mean. Obviously, he's won stuff with us since he's been at United. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he doesn't really have the caliber or the CV, the credentials that I'm looking for in order for me to want to keep him on. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and
no,
also
I hear it.
I think we're more safe we're safer in defence anyway. Then we need to overhaul our midfield more than our defence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I feel like so in terms of you kind of thinking, okay, if I want to keep only one of Casemiro or Harry Maguire, for me it is Casemiro. I'm not against Maguire staying. If it was, I remember I said this last week on the show, that I wouldn't mind Maguire staying if he effectively becomes Johnny Evans. That because in the way of I don't want to see Harry Maguire starting loads of Premier League games for us if other options are available. And apparently he's very good with the youth and very good with kind of being an experienced person to help people through tough times, because what Maguire's been through is pretty, for better or for worse, very one of one Maguire situation within Premier League football, especially in the last 10 or so years. But as you say, Casemiro has the extra thing of being a 5-time Champions League winner. Mm-hmm. He's lifted international trophies, lifted league titles, cup titles, European titles, all of that. And also, at times, he's still done a job for us. For example, in the Europa League last season, I wanted Casemiro to start no Premier League games just to make sure he was there in the Europa League. Because some of his performances, he was running it back to 2015, 2016. It was crazy the way he was doing.
But you can do that in Europe, though.
Yeah.
The Premier League's
and
faster,
Casemiro said, I remember last season, or maybe it was in the summer, he said that he reckons his best ever season was last year, because it's the first time he's had to fight his way back into it. He's a crazy guy, Casemiro. He said before last season, so a couple of years ago, he reckons the best season of football he's ever played was our first season, the season he joined us. Remember, he said not necessarily in terms of winning all the big titles, because he's got all the Champions League and everything, but he said in terms of the best version of Casemiro was that first season under Erik ten Hag, which, to be fair, he was incredible.
He was my player of the year that year.
He was scoring in finals. He was scoring big goals. He was locking people down. Then he just fell off a cliff after it because he got a bit of an injury, played through it, and he really did dip. And then in the summer that's just gone, he said that season was the first season, one of his favourite seasons, or something along those lines, because it was the first time he's had to fight back into a team. Because when Amorim first came, he was nowhere. Casemiro didn't play for 10 games, or he came off once. Yeah. He's the kind of treatment that we're seeing from Kobbie Mainoo at the moment. It was 10 times less than that. So it's the kind of guy who says stuff like that. I wouldn't mind him staying around, because as you say, our leadership group is De Ligt, Maguire, Leacher, Mazwari and Tom Heaton. And then I'm Tom Heaton will be going, Harry Maguire might be going, and then the future of Martinez is in question because of his injuries, etc. So then keeping someone like Casemiro, as long as he's not sucking £1.5 million a month out of the club, there is benefit to that, especially if what we're bringing in is Baleba or Anderson or Wharton, who's 20, 21 years old. To have someone like Casemiro behind them to help them, I think could be very beneficial.
Yeah, no, I completely.
Whereas Harry Maguire is one of 9 centre backs.
Yeah, is it 9? Do we have 9?
It's I think there are 8 or 9 players who could play centre back for us. If you're including Mazwari, etc.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so and Luke Shaw, it becomes 9 centre backs who could play in the 3.
Yeah, so we're stacked as it were. But yeah, no, definitely the midfield is like we were saying the previous topic we were discussing, Baleba, Wharton, Anderson. The midfield is the main concern, I think, right now, moving into the January transfer window and for the rest of the season. So if it's the case where it gets to the end of the season, like I said, keep him in the back pocket, but insist on, I would not want him sucking the club dry.
Yeah, it's a bit long. And we know it's ending at the end of the summer, because obviously that's when his contract comes out. United they're just not going to renew it. at the current rate that it is in. So I think he's got a decision to make because he's not going. I don't think there's another club in Europe who would come in for him.
No.
I don't think so.
Or MLS or,
He's either staying at Old Trafford on 100k a week or he's getting $500,000 a week in Saudi. It's like, which one do you want to do?
The latter.
Probably the latter. Isn't
I
it?
would want to do the latter.
Yeah, I would take it. I think I remember having this discussion with Flex ages ago, being like, kind of, would you accept that money? I'm like, once I hit like 32, 33,
once you've done,
yes.
Exactly. Once you've played in the big leagues, you've won the big games, you've won the big trophies, then...
You never know, he might surprise us. He might go, I'm still hungry. Because Bruno said it last week in his presser. He was like, there's been reports saying that, his Saudi move is being lined up for next summer and they're going to try again. And then Bruno in his presser for Portugal race, he just went, no.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to stay at this club as long as I can. Obviously, that can change. Let's say we finish 14th again. Bruno Fernandes might go, why? But I stay. But then even then, I don't think Bruno would go to Saudi. I think he'd go somewhere else. He'd go to a different league. He'd go to Italy. Do you really want him gone?
Yeah.
How come?
Just this guy, man. Worst captain in our history. Worst. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah. Well, let's not go down.
We just spoke about Harry Maguire.
We're not. Bruno's worse than Harry.
Bruno's
worse than Harry.
Is it at detriment to the club?
Yeah, at the detriment to the team. I'm not saying he's a worse player. His performances haven't necessarily been as bad as Harry Maguire's were when he was a captain. But I think what he's done, it's not really even his fault, but the fact that he's there and he's our captain and Amorim has this obsession with picking him and fudge holding him into the team and making other players play out of position just to accommodate Bruno. And then Bruno goes on the pitch, costs us a goal against Fulham. I'm talking specifically about this season, sorry. Just his attitude, everything, it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. Honestly, I cannot. When the possibility of us selling him this summer came about, I was, please, the football gods just...
I was in such two minds about it.
Really?
Yeah, I was. Because I'm not necessarily the opposite with you in terms of the captaincy thing, but just as a person, as a player, I love Bruno.
Okay.
I adore this guy. And at his best, I think he's unstoppable. And he's someone who I feel like I've been able to have faith in at a time when I've not been able to have faith in a lot of our players.
But what's the comparison that you're drawing from, though? Like, when you say this about Bruno, like, are you comparing him... Are you saying that you can't say the same with the same players that we currently have? Or are you looking back at years gone by, seasons gone by, and you're looking at the calibre of players or captains that we had then? Like, what are you comparing him to? Are you comparing him to what we could have, potentially?
I'm thinking about the last decade, for example.
Okay. Wow.
I think there's very few players in the last decade that I can think, I've been able to rely on them pretty much the entire time they've been there. But this season, the trend with Bruno that is becoming obvious is that it takes longer and longer for him to get going now. So before it'd be let's say a few years ago, Bruno Fernandes was scoring a hat-trick on match day one against Leeds United, right? There's the start of the 2021-2022 season. Bruno was there from minute one. He was like, I'm back, I'm doing this again, we're going again.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got to 2 seasons ago where it took him a little bit of time to get going. Last season, it took him realistically until December when he got sent off against Wolves, and then from then on, and then he started smashing it, and it took until December. Now it feels again like he's starting to take a little bit longer than needed to get going properly, which is why I'm I love the guy, but at the same time, there's just in the back of my head, I'm it's not gonna get better. He's not gonna suddenly snap back to being 27, 28 again.
It's his age declining, which is, he's still young, in the grand scheme of life. But as a footballer, age, it's the environment that he's in. So the situation at United, not just the players on the football pitch, but everybody behind the scenes, just like I said, the rot that is going on at that club. We don't know the full extent to what, what's going on behind the scenes. But also, I think it's the experience that he brings, and I look to him what have you won? How long have you been here?
Is that the way you think you judge players more than anything else on their achievement? Like bona fide written in writing achievement.
If I'm honest with you, yes, I would probably put that up there, and then second to that would be how they treat their teammates on the pitch. because that's all I see. As a football fan, that's all I see. I'm not in Carrington, like I'm not behind the scenes. I'm not privy to the conversations that they have in the dressing room or day to day. What I'm judging on is your behaviour as a captain on the pitch. And when I see Bruno on the pitch, whining, rolling around, chasing after the referee instead of chasing after the ball, because he wants a free kick, and then letting Fulham score, or I could blame it was Fulham, I can't remember. But it's horrendous. It's an horrendous attitude to have, and I think that permeates across the whole team. And I don't think that our youth players, our Euros, our Heavens, our younger players. I honestly don't think that that's somebody that they look up to. I really don't.
Damn. I mean, I think one of the clear examples that people often give with Bruno Fernandes, and when you're talking about petulance, etc., was the 7-0 loss against Liverpool 2 years ago, or 3 seasons ago. Now, like, people often point to that, because it was after that game where everyone would turn around and be like, you're 5-0 down and you're moaning to the referee about something, etc., etc. But we're going back there. Now, obviously, in literally like 3 days' time, we're going back there. So, and this game, I find, I almost can't grasp the actual context of the game because it's all so weird. You can go, Man United haven't won at Anfield since January 2016. That's almost 10 years ago now. But then we've also drawn the last 2 times we went there. 0-0 with Erik ten Hag in his last full season. And then the 2-2 game when we played them at Anfield last season, you could argue we were the betting team and probably should have won that game. That was one of our best performances under Ruben Amorim so far, was away against Anfield. And then you go, but United have been so poor this season. I don't even know if we haven't won a game away from home yet, I don't think, so far. Or maybe our away games have been what? Grimsby, Brentford's.
Oh God.
Grimsby, Brentford's. What have the other away games been?
Fulham,
which was a draw.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But either way, our away performances haven't been fantastic.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, Liverpool, they've just won the league. They're 1 point off the top of the title. It could be bad. And then you actually look at Liverpool and you go, well, hold on. They've not performed well pretty much all season either. Yeah. All of their wins have come from like last-minute goals from players. And there was the argument to be had of being like, is that the stuff for champions, or is that them being saved in the last minute, seven games in a row? Then they've now lost 3 in a row, and you go, how on earth Liverpool lost 3 in a row? But they're 1 point off the top, and then they don't. Liverpool, you would never predict them to lose 4 in a row. But at the same time, like, I find it really hard to actually quantify how I feel going into this game, because everything tells me that we both have a good chance, we have a potential chance to win, but it also tells me that there is no way we're going to win. So I don't know how to feel about this game at all. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm so in two minds about it.
I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I really was so desperate for us to play. I wish we'd have played Liverpool instead of Sunderland before before the international break, just because of the way, like, their form that they've been in, and the way they've been playing, and like you said, the last minute wins, the lucky penalties or the corner kicks or the free kicks that they've gotten to get them over the line in those circumstances, and also now the injuries that they have. So they do have some injuries, which I would never wish injury on a player, but it could be beneficial to us going into
big
this
injuries
weekend.
as well.
Yeah.
Like Konate came back from France duty early. Gravenberch came off at half time against when they're playing for Netherlands recently. Yeah. Alisson's out.
Yeah.
Leone's out, and then they've got a fifth. Someone else is out, and I can't remember who it is. But they've got 5 injuries. I mean, Alisson being out is a big one because, in my eyes, best goalkeeper in the league, potentially best goalkeeper in the world.
So if there was ever to play time ever, I say ever, but this season currently is probably the optimum time to play Liverpool. I mean, ideally we'd be playing them at Old Trafford, and we'd have Lisandro Martinez back, but we don't. I think it's doable. I think we could potentially come away with something. I'd love to say win, but me being safe better, I'd say a draw. But there's some stuff I was looking up this morning on my way here, actually, into the studio about Liverpool and like their performance this season. So in the games that they've played this season, Liverpool, it says they've had more more of their opposition have targeted the flanks rather than going down the centre. So like basically they've had to defend a lot like on their wings rather than teams attacking them down the centre of the pitch. And I think that's probably has a lot to do with the fact that this season, in my opinion, and some of the punditry I've seen in the media, Mohamed Salah is his lack of like defensive work rate is glaringly obvious. And I think that if you're not going to turn up and score goal, I'm not saying that Mohamed Salah is like I'm just using him as an example, right? If you're not going to turn up and score goals for your team and you're not putting in the defensive work rate, then there's a
what are you doing there?
Then what are you doing? I'm not even. He's a great player. He is. I say that through gritted.
And he always bags against us. Always bags against us.
But yeah, I think our best bet, if we're to get anything from Liverpool, our best bet is going down the flanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, their fullbacks have been their weak. Well, I mean, their defence has been their weakest thing so far this season. I find it mad. Some of the talk around Liverpool being like, because they bought all the players they did in the January window, including 2 new fullbacks, because Robertson's ageing and Trent went. But obviously their fullbacks in Kirkez and Frimpong they've not been the world's best. Yeah. Frimpong's obviously had his injuries and Szoboszlai has been getting in at right back. Rio Ferdinand said this 2 weeks ago. He said, if there's one position I want United to target, it's that Szoboszlai at right back. Yeah. He went, Liverpool's defensive right-hand side is where United need to try and win this game. Yeah. And the attacking player who's going to be there is either Mason Mount or Matheus Cunha. Because you reckon that probably Dorgu's going to start. Like he did, I know he didn't start against Sunderland, but Dorgu's most likely going to start at left wing back this game. Yeah. So do you want Mason Mount there or do you want Cunha there?
Are you asking me? Is
yeah,
that
well, yeah.
No, I didn't know if it was a rhetorical
question. It's not rhetorical, we just sit
in
silence for the rest of the last 10 minutes of the show. I mean, I know my answer, but I'll let you go first.
Cunha.
You want Cunha there?
Cunha all day. And again, you know, Mason Mount's been playing really, really well this season, I think so. Anyway, he's put in some great performances. But for me, I'd rather start off stronger, and I think Cunha would be stronger in that position. And also, I don't think Mason Mount is, you know, he's not going to be able to play the full 90 minutes anyway. So would you rather start Mount and then take him off, and then switch move players around, or bring Cunha on, or would you rather start Cunha and then put Mason Mount on? I don't know. I just feel like the physicality as well that this match demands. I don't think that his body, maybe mentally he's up for it, you know, but I don't think his body's not up to it. Going back to I say stats. I don't really like stats, but I found
stats are great. I like stats.
I like stats.
As long as they're in context, but I like stats.
But so this season, 28 of Liverpool's 65 total fouls, so that's 43%, have come on the right-hand side of the pitch. So essentially, in my mind, what that translates to is it's going to be a very physically demanding position, the position that he's going to go into if he is to play there against Liverpool. There's going to be tackles, there's going to be fouls. We're probably going to target like that side, like as you were saying before. I don't think that Mason Mount is up for doing that for 90 minutes. I don't think he can do that.
You see, the way I look at it is Mason Mount only needs to do it for 60.
Fine.
This is what I look at. So Matheus Cunha looks a little bit at the moment like he's trying to force it. And this is something that some United signings get into the mindset of. Like we saw this with Rasmus Højlund more than anyone. That guy was trying to force that ball into the net using goals, and it ended up meaning that he went on a 19-game streak where he didn't score any goals. And I feel like and with Cunha, I think he is the exact kind of player that I fall in love with immediately. A kind of player who he doesn't know what he's going to do until he gets the ball, so therefore no one else does, and he uses that to his advantage. He thinks in the split second, okay, where am I going to go? How do I beat this guy? Who do I pass to? Like I don't think Cunha's the kind of guy who plans ahead in his head in terms of like he gets the ball and goes, right, I am going to try and cut in no matter what here. So someone like Garnacho, for example, the frustration I think we had was that it was really obvious what he was going to do all the time, Garnacho. So as much as you can talk about, you know, his talent and the fact that he kind of would go at it and go at it and go at it, and kind of his determination was a very good asset of Garnacho's. it was a little too one-dimensional. Whereas with Cunha, he thrives off chaos. He thrives off no one knowing what's going to happen. So he then just decides in the split second, you know what, you've gone a little too far to the right. Right, I'm going on your left. Or are you on the left this time? Oh, I'm going to go on your right. Yeah. And
he's
I feel
not
like
one-dimensional. That's what I'm saying. He's not a one-dimensional player.
He's a really multi-dimensional player. And I feel like for this game specifically, I would like to see Mount run and run and run against these guys so that we can then introduce Cunha. I know it was cringe when Gareth Southgate first mentioned this, but it's the perfect example of starter and finisher rather than starter and sub. Yeah. In the way of Mason, because against Sunderland, Mount played 62 minutes. He didn't play the full 90, he only played 62. And then he's had now 2 weeks rest. He went on holiday for a few days. I'm sure he's just been working on his fitness and keeping fit and ready. And I think for this game, Liverpool will come out the blocks, right? They at home against Man United. Slot's going to be talking to these guys and going, you guys have been crap for the last 3 games. The best way to get your fans back on side after a tenuous international break with a few injuries is beat United. Every year, these fans want you to beat United. So they are going to come out and they're going to go bang, 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 bang. In that situation, I would rather have Mount, who's able to slip into a midfield and almost make a midfield 3 with I know it would be a midfield 3 with Bruno, Casemiro and Mount, but at least it's 3 bodies in midfield. Doing the thing we did against Sunderland, where we were playing a little bit more of a 4-4-2 formation to start within this game, try and weather that initial Liverpool, like we played against Arsenal, we stifled them in the first 20 minutes, half an hour of the game. Do that again against Liverpool. I know it's going to be harder. Do that again against Liverpool, or at least maybe, and I know I can't believe I'm saying this about United, but maybe at least try and keep it to no more than 1 goal conceded. And then try and push in that game in the second half when the game gets a bit more expansive, when they tire, when this stuff happens. Then you bring on Matheus Cunha, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. Yeah. Where you can go, Cunha, they're tired, you need a goal, just go and do your thing. Yeah. That's what I would like to see from us, because Mount keeps us kind of tighter, strict and contained for the first bit, and he'll work hard, he'll press, and he'll come back and he'll do his defensive duties. Then bring on Matheus Cunha after Mount's hopefully been able to help us contain them, and then try and win it in that last 30 minutes. Does that make sense, or am I off here?
It makes very good sense, and it actually brings me on to something that I want to talk about in a minute, which is Amram's in-game management and who he subs, and he has the fans shouting at him, going, "Oh, you subbed the wrong player. You should have subbed this." Or, we all like to play Football Manager, but specifically regarding I get where you're coming from about having Mason Mount start, absorbing that pressure, being more disciplined. But I actually don't. I think we should come out the blocks, and I think
you reckon?
I think our best bet of coming out the blocks is using Cunha. So, in response to I agree with you. I think, but just the other way around. I would start Cunha, sub him off, and then sub.
Then bring Mount on.
Yeah. Obviously, this is all hypothetical.
Well, yeah. Well,
we're
it's a Liverpool preview.
Yeah, exactly. So again, in-game management, we'll see what happens, but it's definitely a nice option to have, either or.
Yeah, it's so good. We were talking about this the other day as well on DR Sports Live at 5. I think Abby asked me, she was like, how do you feel about, having to, you bought Matheus Cunha and then you're talking about starting Mason Mount over him. And she was like, how do you feel about that? Because your new £62.5 million signing is on the bench after 5 games, 6 games. And I was like, no, I love it. I love the fact that we can say this, because last season it was we had three forwards. It was like when Ahmad was injured and Mainu was injured, and then we had 3 forwards. We had Højlund, Garnacho and Xerxes, and that was it. Yeah. There was no one else, and it was in few, because Mount was injured, Ahmad was injured, and Mainu was injured, and it was a nightmare. But now at least we can talk about, we 2 quality options, or one of them has to come off the bench. Oh no! Yeah. Oh dear, I'm so happy about it. The fact that we can talk about options.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, just in the comment section, afterwards, what viewers would think our best starting 11 for this match is. I'd be very interested to know. Not to prove a point or anything like that. I'm just
I agree. Yeah, well, because there's going to be differences.
There's going to be
one person who I think is starting, and you may take it as good news or you may take it as bad news, is I think Dallow's starting. And I tell you why, because Slot, you remember when they played Liverpool, Newcastle, they went 2-0 up, Newcastle with 10 men, and then it went to 2-2, and it took a 90 plus 10 minute winner from Rio to win the game. Slot came out after the game and basically went, my team can't deal with long throws. You look at that, and then Dallow's long throw, to his credit,
long throw specialist.
I think it's...
Is that what he's good for? He's meant to be a footballer.
I know. But to his credit, Dallow, he has it in his locker, and we scored off it 2 weeks ago. I do feel like Amarim's going to look at that and go, on balance of things, he's probably going to end up starting Dallow because he's going to want those long throws in, and he's going to want us to, if we want to pepper in the box, but pepper Liverpool's box, that's going to be an extra option. Yeah. And then we talk about, okay, who might not start? That might then be Ahmad, who's not starting. And then if we're starting then Mount or starting Cunha, we then bring in Ahmad and then one of Mount and Cunha on in the second half, which is why I think subs will be so key in this game. Sorry. But I don't know if you want Dallow to start or not. If you'd rather, you got Dorgu and Ahmad and have them pushing high. If we want to get, if we want to put,
Look, I'm being facetious here, but I should have clarified earlier. Dallow is on my, I don't want to say my hit list.
But you effectively are saying hit list.
He's above Bruno in who needs to leave first. This guy, honestly, and I don't want it to become like a hate Dallow show. I understand, I would say I understand Amarim's reasons for potentially starting Dallow. I think that Amarim in recent weeks, as his job has come under pressure and he's come under scrutiny, he seems to have opted for the older, the older players, the more experienced, the more safe,
quote unquote reliable bets. Even though
reliable.
Even though I think that he should go the other way and trust the kids a bit more.
Trust the kids. Yeah. Kids are the future. But no, going back to your point about, I think you'll pick Dallow. Arne Slot's comments about the long throw and Liverpool not being able to deal with that. I think it's almost a trap. As in, if Amarim was to start Dallow solely for the purpose of, let's see what we can do with a long throw, I think it's just, we're walking into a trap. I just don't think, honestly, I can't even put into words what benefit playing Dallow in this game against Liverpool would bring, apart from a long throw. I can't.
No, I agree. I agree. So, I think...
And if that's the reason, so what I'm saying to you is, if we then see Dallow in the starting lineup on Sunday, are we all going to be thinking, that's for the long throw? Because that's what Liverpool would think straight off the bat. If they saw our team sheet, that's all, I think they would have a field day if they saw.
Yeah, I do think Amarim's got to be brave in this game. And as you said,
going back to Cunha, starting, being brave, going out the blocks.
Yeah,
just go at them.
I think the biggest indication of if Amarim goes out the blocks or not is more than anything who he starts as wing backs. Because as we've been saying, it's those wide defensive positions that have been causing Liverpool problems all season. If you're playing with three defenders and then Casemiro, you've got 4 defensive players on the pitch, and then just have your fullbacks right. Up there, have them right. That's the other route Amarim can go down, and he can go. Everyone thinks we're going to lose this game anyway.
But
I may as well play. No, can't really put a cross in. No, have you seen Ahmad's assist and free kick from the other day?
No.
Lovely. He's got a lovely free kick. He looked really, really good for Ivory Coast. Yeah. Good. I think he was great against Sunderland. Ahmad was. He was one of our best players on the pitch. He's starting now to get into his stride.
Into form.
And hopefully, him and Mbeumo against Sunderland. Together they look great. They look like they're starting to understand each other.
Yeah, they did fade in the second half though. I think they faded a lot.
Yeah, but I think we as a squad kind of stood back a little bit because we got the 2-0 lead.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But again, this goes to talking about the importance of who we have on the wing. I don't think it should be Dallow. I'm sorry, I just don't think that Dallow should be starting.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's frustrating watching him a bit because we know how. I think he was very good previously, especially under Ten Hag as a fullback.
I've never rated him.
Have you not?
Never ever rated him as a player.
I thought he was a tidy fullback under Ten Hag, but it's not the same when you're playing as a wing back when he's so high and wide on that right or left hand side.
I think he's had his moments under Ten Hag and under previous managers, but he's never been a stand-up player for me. Very, very mediocre. I thought he had so much promise when he came in years ago. He came to United when he was 21, I think, 22.
Younger than that.
Younger. And what is he now, 26?
Yeah, he's 26 now.
Has he progressed? Really? Has he reached the heights that you thought he was going to reach? And I'm getting off topic here from the previous. Yeah, exactly.
Considering that when we bought him, he was rated alongside Trent. That's where the scout. I remember the scouting list. It was them two. It was Diogo Dalot from Porto and Trent from thing. But just before we wrap up the show, I want to just ask for your score predictions.
I'm gonna go.
You can go with one with your head and one with your heart if you want. Because that's what I'm doing.
That's not how I live life. I walk up my head and my heart together, right? So I've got to give you one prediction, one score. And I'm going to go with United to win.
Damn.
2-1.
2-1?
Yeah.
I can't remember what I said. Yes, I literally predicted this game less than 24 hours ago. And I immediately can't remember what I said. I know I didn't say United to win. I either said 2-1 Liverpool or 2-2. I can't see us keeping them to 1 goal or 0 goals. I think they're going to score twice. So it's up to how many I think we can score, and very, very specifically when we score them. If we score first, I can see us potentially even scoring 2 or 3. Just because I have so much belief in Šeško. I love that guy. I love Mbeumo. I love how they've been playing so far. But I can't see us winning.
Wow.
I'm giving us 10%. Giving us 10%.
I think
chance.
Le Mans. He's gonna have the game of his life. The game of his life.
Yeah.
I think he's ready for it though. He seems like I wouldn't say really excited about him, but promising. Quietly confident is the word that I would use for him. So yeah, he has to have the game of his life. And look, if we need luck on our side, like I said, they've got players out with injury.
You force your own luck anyway, don't you? Realistically, like you can force luck in these games. You just keep it. You know what, Le Mans, actually, just as you mentioned it there, he gives me massive Juan Mata vibes. I don't know if you agree with this.
Wait, what do you mean? How?
No, as in just like always. He just seems like the kind of person who will always just. He seems like a lovely guy and also isn't phased by stuff. Like Mata was never phased at United. Solid. He spent 8 years here, and he was at the highs, he was at the lows. He was obviously like I was going through some of our recent wins against Liverpool. Second most recent win is the 2015. Juan Mata scored twice, including that scissor kick. And I was watching that game and I was just thinking about Le Mans at the same time, and I'm like, yeah, he just gives me the vibes of someone who's not gonna at any point kind of go wide-eyed and look panicked. Yeah. Like Juan Mata never was, but also at the same time he just seems like a nice guy who's going to be hopefully really well respected at United.
Yeah. I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think a United win 2-1, and I think Le Mans is gonna have the game of his life. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. If he does, then that's fantastic for him. I love. We were clapping and screaming when he claimed those 2 crosses, and I was laughing my head off when I saw that because it's so justified.
But we've been deprived of that for like how, 2
Which is crazy. That's how low it are, yeah. Andre Onana's gone, Altay Bayindir. Bayindir can't start. That's my one other worry is that Amorim might be like, oh, I'm going to save Le Mans from the potential of the horrors of this game and play Bayindir. No. Start Le Mans, start like De Ligt, don't start Maguire, start Yoro.
Saving his job, so start Le Mans.
Yeah, he's just got to start his best players.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards a 2-2 than a Liverpool win. Okay. Because we have a shot. I said non-United fans have been looking at me and going, what are you on about? But I think there is a shot there for us to score some goals this time. Just scoring at Anfield has been such an issue for us. Yeah. But I can see it.
And if we win, everyone will be like, we're winning the league.
Oh, if we win, we're like, 3 points off Champions League places. Oh, we'll be right back in the mix.
Exciting.
I feel like KG at the moment, you know.
Oh my God.
Just all the positives.
It's the hope that kills you.
It always is, but I will never stop hoping, never stop believing. But Steph, it's been an absolute pleasure. Welcome, your first episode on United View. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the studio. And thank you guys so much for watching, all your comments and all of that. It's been a pleasure presenting as always. I will be live on DR Sports at 5 p.m. to go through all the latest football news, drama and everything. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I will be on with, not Abby, but Laurie will be on with me, and I can't remember, there's someone else on with me as well. But apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, all the socials in the descriptions. Let us know what you think we said right. Let us know if we got everything wrong, as you always do. But apart from that, thank you so much. I'll be back next Thursday at 1 p.m. to probably go through the Liverpool game, look ahead to the other games in the next couple of weeks. So I will see you then.